The Memorandum on Alternative Foreign Investment Entry Vehicles to China summarizes and provides an overview of the main types of structures that a company can consider using when going into China. The important thing to remember is that depending on what your business goal is, you may very well be using a very different form of structure. So unlike the United States or Europe, where you just might form a company and a company can do anything that is legally permissible in business, in China, the truth is, depending on what you're trying to do, you need a different structure. So in that memorandum, which you can download and read at your leisure, it covers several of the main types of structures. So for example, if my goal was to set up an operation in China which were to source manufacturing, to provide after-sale service, to provide customer support, to provide procurement services, I would use a certain type of structure. It would be called a representative office. That representative office could have employees. It would be a cost center. You could have an office. You could hire locally. You could have an international person go there, and it would perform the function. That entity, however, would not be able to sign a contract or enter into a direct contractual relationship with a counterpart party. All the representative office could do was to assist the mother company overseas to secure the contract, but could not sign it in its own name. So, for example, if your need were, for example, to retain the services of a factory, you wanted to manufacture a product, you didn't want to go to the expense of opening a factory and hiring lots of people and investing a lot of money, one would consider a different type of structure, which would be called processing and assembly. And in those situations, oftentimes, a process and assembly situation, a foreign company might provide the know-how, the designs, some of the raw material, or even semi-finished products that would be organized and put together and manufactured in a factory that had a contractual relationship with the foreign party. The local entity would provide the labor and the production facility. That would be something shy of owning and operating your own factory and having your own employees. So again, for example, if your need were that, you would wind up setting up a different kind of structure. If your situation were that you wish to set up your own operation, to control your manufacturing, to have your own know-how and designs, to have your own employees, you have several options in terms of structures. The main structures could be joint venture or wholly foreign-owned enterprise where you would own your factory 100%. That, of course, is self-explanatory, and in the memorandum you can see a section called wholly foreign-owned enterprises. In addition, you may find that you don't want to own it completely on your own and you feel that you need a local partner. You will find two paragraphs discussing what's called either an equity joint venture or a cooperative joint venture. This is where you wind up owning the facility with local partners or with multiple local partners. The equity joint venture is a structure which is very similar to an international shareholding company where profits and losses are distributed by in proportion to the equity capital invested, which might be cash capital or in-kind capital. One of the interesting things about an equity joint venture, of course, is that management is also shared in proportion to the capital contribution. In many situations, that works very well. In other situations, an equity joint venture does not reflect the respective talents and strengths and weaknesses of the parties. So in that situation, where perhaps the international party has greater know-how, greater experience, or abilities in certain areas, and it makes more sense for the success of the joint venture to articulate the respective roles and responsibilities and obligations of the different parties, oftentimes a cooperative joint venture is established where based on the contract that gets negotiated, it articulates different responsibilities for different parties. That is a important attribute of a cooperative joint venture, so that management actually reflects the strengths and weaknesses of the parties. The other unusual attribute of a cooperative joint venture is that the distribution of profits and losses is set by the contract. It is not set based on the mechanical proportion of capital contributed. In many ways, the cooperative joint venture winds up becoming much more flexible and can reflect the reality of a changing business environment. The wholly foreign-owned enterprise, you, of course, as a foreign party, are the only managerial party, and essentially you have a free hand. It would be similar to the 100% owned subsidiary in other jurisdictions. Some of the other structures that are discussed in this memorandum are a wholly foreign-owned trading company, if you wanted to do only an import-export business. It also talks about a structure called a foreign invested commercial enterprise, otherwise known as a FICE. And a FICE is an entity or a structure that exists to allow a party to conduct both domestic sales, distribution, and marketing into China, as well as the import and export of product from abroad or to overseas in China. Naturally, a joint venture structure or a wholly foreign-owned enterprise contemplates manufacturing in addition to just the trading. I hope that this memorandum is helpful to you. I think the key takeaway point is that depending on your business purpose, you may very well wind up with a different structure, so that China is a jurisdiction where you should not assume that one structure fits all. Good luck with your business in China.